In today's episode, I wanted to share with you 2 finished objects as well as 4 works in progress and some acquisitions I've just recently picked up. Hi there, welcome back to Knitting by the Bay. My name is Christy and this is my making podcast where I talk mostly about knitting, but sometimes other crafts I might be into at the moment. In today's episode, I wanted to share with you 2 of my finished objects I'm super excited about, as well as update you on some of my works in progress. I have 4 of them right now, which is absolutely crazy for me. And then I have a couple new acquisitions I've just recently picked up, as well as I wanted to share with you a book that I just finished that I thought was pretty good, and some TV shows that I'm watching, and a movie that we just recently went to see. If you're into horror movies at all, then stick around till the end of the video and you'll get my opinion on one of the latest horror movies that has just come out. And then also, I just wanted to give you a quick little life update as well. I will save all of that stuff for the end of the video, but let's get right into some of my finished objects. So the first one that I have just completed actually a couple days ago is the Bisbis beret. This is a pattern by Sari Nordlund. And it is, she says you can do it either with a fingering weight held together with a mohair or a sport weight with a mohair as well. She also says you could use 2 fingering weights and a mohair, whatever you want to use together to get gauge. So I decided to do mine with 2 fingering weights and a mohair because I had this yarn in stash already. So I used the Berroco Vintage Sock yarn in the color Oats. I held 2 strands of that together with Knitting for Olive mohair in the color Cloud. And so this is my Bisbis beret. I think it's actually just called Bisbis, but I'm calling it the Bisbis beret. So I really like this color that I ended up with using those 2, like the Cloud together with Oats. It gives it a nice marled look with a fuzzy halo to it. And I really like that. And so this pattern is so much fun to do. You start off by knitting this I-cord little tab on the top, and then you start doing your increases to shape the crown, and then you start doing decreases to come in for the beret shape. And so it's a little bit fiddly to work the beginning of this. And she says that you can use like double pointed needles, or you could use a circular needle to do magic loop. And it's knit with a US 6 or a 4mm needle. My US 6 needle is currently busy with another project. So I tried to use the US 6 double pointed needles, and doing the I-cord tab here was like no problem. But then once you start doing the increases at the top here, it gets so fiddly with the double pointed needles that I just like could not do it. So I decided just to size up to a US 7 just to get it going here. And I figured that'll be at the top of my head. No one's going to notice if there are like slightly bigger stitches right there, which, you can kind of see, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I did that on Magic Loop with the US 7 to start doing the decreases. Once it got big enough that it wasn't like it was more stable or whatever, it was less fiddly, I took those stitches and put them onto the US 6 double pointed needles, and I worked the top of the hat until I had enough stitches to transfer it over to my 16-inch US 6 circular needle. And then I worked the rest of the hat using that. And yeah, I really like how it turned out. The pattern is so much fun. Once you get past that part at the top, it becomes so much fun. It's very easy to understand, very well written, super quick pattern. I started this on, I think it was Saturday, and I was finished by Sunday night. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to work. So one thing, I was reading through the patterns, the projects that other people had done, and a lot of people had said that they had to knit an extra inch for the body of the hat And I thought because my head is sort of big, I always think I've got a big head. I thought I should definitely knit that extra inch. So I did that. And then a lot of people also had suggested, because you're doing an I-cord bind off here, which is not like extremely stretchy like a ribbing would be. So they suggested going up a needle size as well to do the I-cord bind off. So I did do that as well. I used US 7 to do that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have never done an I-cord bind off before, so I was a little bit nervous about doing that. And she says you can also do a 1x1 rib if you prefer to do it that way. But I was looking through all the projects, and the ones that had the I-cord bind off, I really thought looked a lot neater, a lot more professional, very beret style, and like instead of the ribbing. So I decided to do that and to learn how to do it, and it was like tons of fun to do. It takes a little bit longer because you're like basically making a tube all along here, so you're knitting these stitches multiple times to knit around that tube and attaching it to the hat at the same time. So yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but I think it's definitely worth it. My hat ended up turning out a little bit bigger than what I had hoped for because I had made those modifications thinking that I needed to do that. And I actually didn't need to do that at all. So it did turn out a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more of a floppier beret. I'm going to put a picture up so you can see how it looks on me. And so I had an idea of what I wanted it to fit like, and it's not like that. It's much bigger and floppier. So what I ended up doing is she has you at the end, you block it on a plate, and she says to use an 11-inch like dinner plate, which I did. So you like put that inside and then you let it dry on the plate like that. And I did that. And yeah, afterwards I took the plate out and I tried it on and it was too big. So I don't know if it also has to do with, I don't think I could have used a smaller plate because it was already bigger. And, you know, so what I did is I was already doing some laundry. I was washing some towels. So I ended up just popping it. It was still a little bit damp. I popped it in the dryer with the towels and I just dried it in there. And it did shrink up a little bit. So now it's not as oversized. So I like it a lot better now. But this Berroco Vintage Sock yarn is actually a superwash wool. So I didn't expect it to shrink very much or even felt at all. But if it wasn't a superwash, I would have like definitely liked to try felting this because I think that would have given a really, really cool look as well. So like I might make another one and intentionally make it bigger and then felt it like with a non-superwash wool because I think that would look really good. What else? Oh, when I make another one, which I have got the yarn already to make another one, I'm going to knit it exactly to pattern, not add that extra inch and just use the same US 6 to do the I-cord bind off. And I think that will turn out a lot better than this one did. But I think that this one is still super cute. It just didn't turn out exactly as what I was picturing it would. Okay, so my second finished object is the one that's hanging up here behind me. And if you've watched my channel before, you know that I've been working on this one for a very long time. I started this one back in October of last year, and I was intending for it to be a Christmas present for my husband. And that did not happen at all. I just actually finished it maybe 3 weeks ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago. So it's actually going to be a birthday present for my husband, whose birthday is on Saturday, but I've already given it to him, obviously. But anyway, so this is the Radmere. This is a pattern by Michele Wang. I knit this one using Cascades 220 in the color 8400, which is charcoal heather. And this pattern is knit flat in pieces, bottom up, and then you seam it together. Then you pick up stitches to make the button band and the shawl collar. So I will show you. It is a very heavy sweater. I knit him the size 4, and I think this took about 10 skeins of the Cascades. I think I ordered 12 and I have 2 left. So here it is. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's very hard to tell, when you're knitting bottom up, it's hard to tell how long it's going to be. As well as the sleeves, it's hard to tell about the sleeves. And I really just didn't want this to be too oversized for him, and I didn't want the sleeves to be too long. They did turn out a little bit longer, so he's, well, it's come down, but he turns up the cuff a little bit, which is not bad, like just a little cuff on it. And then it's the perfect size for him. And I said to him, like, oh, maybe I should have done the one size smaller. And he's like, no, I like how it is. He's like, a cardigan for me, I don't want a cardigan to be too fitted. I'd like it to be a little bit looser. So yeah, he's really happy with how it turned out. I think it's this cabling pattern on it is absolutely beautiful. So I think Michele Wang, she designs the most beautiful cabled patterns ever. I just love it. I love all of her designs. And the pattern, I've got it on the hanger. I normally wouldn't keep this on the hanger, obviously, especially since it's super, super heavy. But the pattern was very easy to understand. I didn't have any trouble with any of the directions at all. I thought it was very, very clear. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It took a very long time though. That's the only thing. And I was wanting to get this one off the needles because I kind of felt this a little bit of guilt every time I go to knit on something else. I'd feel like, oh, you got to get that one finished. My husband would make jokes from time to time, like, oh, why aren't you knitting on my sweater? Like, why are you knitting on something else? Like, he was joking, but kind of joking. And then I would just feel a little bit guilty, like I should be working on this. And I'd have to explain to him, well, this one takes a lot of concentration. I can't do this like in the car, or if I'm trying to pay attention to a movie or something, I can't work on this one. So yeah, there were only certain times when I could work on it. But yeah, I really like how it turned out. I know that knitting flat, bottom up, seaming sweaters is not everyone's cup of tea. Like, most people now want to be knitting things top down in the round. Obviously, you can't do a cardigan in the round unless you're going to steek it, but yeah, the seaming it together and everything is not something that a lot of people enjoy doing. But I think it really gives it a different sort of look. It gives it a lot of structure, having the seams down the side. I really like how the sleeves look, how they're just like set in sleeves that you're going to seam up. I think it just gives it like a different sort of look, a more straighter, streamlined sort of look than when you're knitting something in the round, which will give you more of a round shape to it, if that makes sense. And then another thing about it is, because it's such a big, heavy, all over cabled sweater, when you knit it in pieces, you don't have to carry this entire thing around with you on your lap or whatever. It's basically like a giant blanket while you're knitting on it. You don't have to do that because you're just working on pieces of it at a time, which I think is very good, especially when I was knitting in the summer, not to have this entire thing like sitting on my lap. So another thing that I did with it was I knit the fronts 2 at a time. So I had the fronts on the needles on one needle and knit those at the same time, as well as the sleeves I did at the same time. And I feel like that really helped to make it seem like it was going a lot faster. So yeah, I totally recommend this pattern. If you haven't knit something like this where you have to knit it flat and seam it together, I totally encourage you to try a pattern. Yeah, just give it a go and see how you like the experience of knitting it that way. So I'm going to take it off the hanger now because it's already getting stretched out a little bit. So these buttons, I just had my stash. They're just like a darker wood, sort of reddish brown button. And my husband chose these. He thought they looked good. So I just went with those. I had 5 of them in my stash, so that worked out perfectly. Didn't have to buy any new buttons. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I guess one other thing is I use the Cascades 220 for this, which is my go-to yarn when knitting cables, because I think the stitch definition is so beautiful with this yarn, and it's a very economical yarn. It's not expensive. It's pretty easy to get, and it comes in many, many different colors. So yeah, I totally recommend this, the Cascades 220. This one that we got smells extremely sheepy. And yeah, I don't know, like I have more Cascades for another project that I'm working on. Does not smell the same. It smells a little bit, but this one smells very, very sheepy. It's really nice. It's a very nice, like comforting smell, I think. So I don't know why this one in particular smells more sheepy, because I've washed it, blocked it, everything, and you can still smell. It's really nice. Okay, so that's all of my finished objects. Let's get into my works in progress. So the first one I want to share with you, I have them all in my bag here, is one that I've been waiting until I've cast off the Radmere to cast on, but it is the Moby sweater by Petite Knit. This is a very popular sweater that's been knit many, many times, and I've always wanted to knit it. And then I finally decided on the color that I wanted, which don't have much on right now, but this is the color 2650. It's Sandnes Garn Pure Gynt. And yeah, I'm knitting the size large, which is the 4th size. And I will show you what I've got so far. So this is it. I'm working on the front now. So you start with the back and you cast on the number of stitches that are going to go all the way across your shoulders. And then you start sort of, I think you start around the collar here and work back and forth, and you do German short rows. And then every time you come over to the one side, you're gonna knit some more of the stitches that are on the needle, and then you're going to turn and do the same thing, back and forth till you get the width of your shoulders. And at the same time, you're working on the chart. And so I found the chart is very easy to follow, very easy to do. There's actually, like, it looks like a cable sweater, but it's really not a lot of cabling. The only cable is this one, and you only need a cable needle like every 10th row or something with this cable. The rest of it here are like, these are crossed stitches, which you just work out of order, which I guess is the same as cabling, but you don't need a cable needle for those. And then you're doing some twisted stitches, and then you're doing like double moss stitch here. So that part of the chart is very easy to understand, and I find it like it was very easy to memorize and just read your knitting. So yeah, that part was really simple. But adding in the German short rows into the chart, when she has the chart and it's divided up like 3 or 4 sizes per chart. So the one size that I was working on, it didn't, like, she doesn't include all the stitches, which she says there's more stitches on your needles than what's pictured on the chart, which makes sense if there's different sizes, so that you're going to have different amounts of this double moss stitch at the side. And then she includes the turning stitch, like for your German short rows. But she only does that for about, I think it was 29 rows of the pattern. And then all of a sudden, those turning stitches are no longer included on the pattern. And she doesn't mention that part of it. And so that confused me a little bit, because I still had the stitches on the shoulders that hadn't been worked yet and hadn't been, into the short rows. And I knew I had to include those ones. So you kind of have to just think about that yourself and like, okay, yeah, I still need to include that turning stitch there. I'm sure for somebody who's more experienced knitter might just be like, well, obviously that's what you do. But for me, it was a little bit confusing, and I kind of read through some other projects to see if anybody else had any questions about that or gave any information about that, and I couldn't find anything. But yeah, it does just make sense to continue on doing exactly what you were doing and include that turning stitch. So yeah, other than that, very, very easy to understand. I love this color. It's sort of like it's a beige, but it's not a warm beige because it's got a lot of gray in it. It's not like it's a heathered color as well. And yeah, I really like it. It gives it a very cool beigey color, more like a grayish, which I'm really into right now. And I think it will look really nice as like a basic, but not so basic, cabled sweater, but something that will go with everything. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Oh, one more thing. So once you finish the back, then you're going to pick up stitches to, I have to see which side looks better. You're going to pick up stitches on the shoulder and continue down the front on each front. And you want to continue this same cable and the pattern from the chart so that it doesn't like look wonky here. So I did my best. It's definitely not perfect, but I did try and pick up the stitches, the right amount of stitches in the right area so that it would just like kind of seamlessly go into the front from the back. So I think it looks pretty good. It could be better, but she has you pick up the stitches on the shoulder between the stitches, I think she says. Anyway, you have to see in the pattern, and I think she shows, yeah, there's a video that you can follow as well on her website that shows you how to do that so that you don't get like a line there as much. I mean, I can still see a bit of the line, but it looks better, I think. So I'm really happy with how that's turning out. I'm so excited to be working on that and to hopefully have that done. It's knitting up super quickly. It's, I should say, a DK weight sweater. I'm using the pure Gynt, which a lot of people say is more of a worsted weight. But yeah, I think it's knitting up really quickly. So I'm really happy with that. The pure Gynt is a little bit more rustic, so it's a bit scratchier. But I will definitely be wearing a shirt underneath this anyway, so that'll be good. Okay, so my next work in progress, I will share with you got them all in little bags here. This is my summer top that I started a while ago, and it is also another pattern by Petite knit, and it is knit using Sandnes Garn Tynn in the color Hydrangea Blue. And it's a very like basic V-neck tee. It's very wrinkly because it's been in the bag, and this is linen and cotton, so it wrinkles up a lot. So I am knitting the size large, which is the 5th size. And what was I going to say? I am basically just have this one to work on when I'm like in the car or, you know, at my son's like karate and stuff, because it's just, I've joined for the body and it's just stockinette right now until the end, and it's a fingering weight yarn, so it's taking a very long time. And also my son is taking time off for the month of August from his karate, so I haven't been working on it a lot. So I'm definitely not going to have this one done for summer of this year. Another thing is like I really do not enjoy the knitting experience of working on a fingering weight top, which I knew I probably would feel that way. It just takes a very long time, and I'm a process knitter, but I'm more of a project knitter, so I really like to see the finished object. And with this, it's just taking so long. I don't like knitting with smaller needles. Sometimes it makes my hands go numb, and so I don't really enjoy that. And I don't like my tension that I'm getting for this. I don't know if it's me, if it's a combination of me and the yarn, the Tynn, which I've used before, and I didn't like the tension either. I find that the stitches stretch out when I'm knitting them. I've got like a lot of spots that just don't look great. So maybe that's just me and I need to practice more on my tension, but I don't get this from, DK weight or, even sport weight. None of those give me the tension like this. I have no problems with my other sweaters, but with this, I don't really like it. So yeah, I was thinking maybe I would knit one of these every summer and have them in different colors because I really like the look of the top. I like a V-neck and yeah, I really like that. I like the idea of this top, but I don't really enjoy knitting it. So that's going to take me a while and I should have it done for next summer, I think. Okay, so then I started looking into, I want to make some more cardigans for myself. I think I've only made two cardigans so far, and I really like wearing them. So I started looking into some more like cardigan patterns, and what I really like is a longer cardigan. I like they call it like a duster cardigan, which I think really suits me and my body type because I'm tall and everything, and I just think that it suits me, and that's what I buy from stores normally is a knee length cardigan, mid thigh or something. So I knew I wanted something longer. I like V-neck. I don't like a crew neck cardigan. So I need something that is V-neck. I really like when it has a nice big shawl collar to it. So I started looking at some patterns and I found the first one that I found was the Aspen. And I think I talked about this before. This pattern is, I'll put a picture, is by Michele Wang again. It's a beautiful all over cabled coat, she calls it. So it's, some people knit it like almost to the ground. Some people, I've seen some projects that were knee length, which looked really cute as well. And then it has pockets in it and it has the shawl collar. I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I saw some projects on there that I absolutely love. So I ended up buying some yarn for that. I ordered 14 skeins of yarn and I ended up having to order it from the US. So I'm in Canada and I ordered it from, was it Wool Time or something? And it came and the person who was delivering it, I think it might have been FedEx or something, was delivering it and I owed $120 in duty on top of the yarn. And I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. And the delivery guy was really nice. He's like, do you want to send it back? And I'm like, well, no, I don't want to send it back, but I definitely won't be ordering from there or from the US, I guess, again, because that is a lot of money to pay on top of the yarn that already costs a lot for 14 skeins of yarn. So that was a big mistake and a learning experience for me, unfortunately. But anyway, I will show you what I got. So this is the Cascades 220. It's the color River Walk Heather. And yeah, it's a non-superwash wool. And so I was planning to do the, what do you call it, Aspen from Michele Wang. But then I started thinking about it, and because I got this wool maybe 2 months ago. So in the meantime, I was trying to finish the Radmere sweater, and I started thinking about it. And of course, I'm looking on Ravelry again and checking things out. And I started to see some other sweaters that I was maybe considering. There was another one called Bellows, also by Michele Wang. I think it's called that, but anyway, I'll put it up on the screen. And I thought that was a beautiful one as well. It didn't have as much cabling. The cabling is just on, I think, the sleeves and on the front, possibly. I'm not sure if it's on the back as well. But anyway, it's only from the mid section to the bottom. And I thought that that was a really cool look. And it has, again, like a shawl collar. And I was thinking maybe to make that, and I might make it a little bit longer and do some tweaks to it. But then I also saw another one called Corvid, and this is a pattern by Jared Flood. This is also another like coat style. I think he calls it a coat, maybe. And it's a long blanket style cardigan with another big shawl collar. And yeah, I really liked the look of this one as well. And I thought maybe I just want to knit something that's not all over cabled, because the all over cabled coat, you know, knee length or longer, is going to be super, super heavy. And so I thought maybe I'll just do one that is like stockinette stitch, but just like a really nice, big, beautiful blanket style cardigan. So I've decided to do Corvid, and this one is a worsted weight sweater, and you knit this one on, I want to say it is 8mm needle. Anyway, I'll put that on the screen too. Yeah, and I am knitting this one in size 3. So for context, I have a 38-inch bust, and so I thought with the size 3, it was going to be, I didn't want it to be super oversized, even though it is like just very like big blankety style. I didn't want it to be huge and just like falling off of me. So I decided to do the size 3. And this is a really interesting cardigan coat thing because it has this shawl collar, but then it stops and it has like a cut in it. Or, you know, you're just knitting the shawl collar and then you stop and then you pick up and you knit for the bottom part. It doesn't have buttons on it, but I guess the button band sort of thing. So it is open there, which I think is around your hips. So he says like to give it movement and stuff. But I thought that was a really unique look. The ribbing on it for the, you know, all of the ribbing, the bottom, the hem and the cuffs and the shawl collar is all done with this cartridge rib, which is like basically knit 3, purl 1 on the one side, and then the other side it's knit 3, purl 1, but it's like staggered. So it gives you this interesting looking ribbing, which I've never seen before, done before. And I should also mention this one is also knit in pieces from the bottom up, and then you seam it together. So yeah, I'll show you what I have so far. And I'm using the Cascades 220 and the River Rock Heather, but I decided to pair it together with Knitting for Olive mohair in the color Pearl Gray. And I bought this yarn thinking that it was going to be similar to the Sandnes Garn 2650. But when it arrived, you can see that this is slightly warmer than this one. I don't know. Yeah, it just has a slight warmer, and maybe darker look than this one. And so I started playing around with it, and I added in this pearl gray that I already have one ball of this in my stash. So I said, I'll, you know, just knit up a little swatch and see what it looks like. And I really liked how this sort of toned down the warmth. There's not a lot of warmth in this, but you know, it's warmer than the other one. So it really tones down that warmth and gives it a dusty sort of halo to it, which I really liked. So I'll show you what I've got so far. This is the bottom hem. I guess that's the wrong side, but I guess it looks the same pretty much. And that's the cartridge rib, which gives it this really interesting sort of texture to it. So you basically have like one row that goes down that's stockinette, and the rest of it is like, I can't figure it out if it's not garter stitch. It's different than that, but yeah, it gives this really unique sort of texture. And when I started on it, I was like, it doesn't look like anything at the beginning for the first few rows. And I'm like, am I doing this right? But then you keep going, and then yeah, it turns out like this, which I think is really cool. And so even the shawl collar is going to have this texture on it too. And it's a very wide collar as well, which I think is really cool. And yeah, so I think that adding this, I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference, probably not. But adding this mohair to it really brought it to be pretty much the same color there. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I ended up having to buy a lot of mohair to go with this because, you know, it's a coat. And this was already extremely expensive with that duty tacked onto it too. So I ended up buying this, but this one I bought a couple months ago, and I sort of budget my money of how much I'm going to spend on yarn per month. So I was able to buy this like a couple months later. So I justified it that way. But normally that much yarn, that much mohair is very expensive. I don't knit a lot of things where I'm adding mohair to it. But yeah, I thought that this, not just for the color of it, but also for the drape of the sweater, I think it's going to, when you add the mohair to it, it just gives it more of a relaxed drape kind of in a way. And then this, you know, fuzzy halo added to it too will really, yeah, like add to the blanket style feeling of this coat sweater. So I really, yeah, I really wanted to to do it with the mohair. So one way that I try to decide on between different patterns is I use ChatGPT a lot. It's kind of embarrassing how much I use it. But I used it for this to decide between these three patterns because I want something that is going to be, this is going to take me a while to make. And I want to make sure that I'm going to wear it. And a lot of times I will look at a pattern and see it on the model and think it looks really great on the model, make it, and then never wear it because it doesn't suit me. I just don't feel comfortable in it. So I use ChatGPT. I also really like learning about the Kibbe body types. So I've decided that I'm a flamboyant natural. I've talked about this on my podcast before, but I put that information into ChatGPT and I say, based on this, which one of these sweaters would be better for a flamboyant natural. I also use it to help me decide on colors because I feel like I'm a soft summer color. So I'll put that into and say, like, I want to use like Cascades or Knitting for Olive or something. Which ones of those colors would look good? And it helped me with deciding what to mix this yarn with and to use the pearl gray to mix together. So I think that that could be really helpful. It also, I have used it to decide, figure out what size to make and also to figure out how much yarn to buy. But I find that that's not always right. So just be aware if you do put that in there, because ChatGPT will say, do you want me to suggest how much yarn to buy and for what size and everything? And if you say yes, sometimes it doesn't come out properly with the right amount. So just be aware, like, to do your own research on that. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a helpful tool sometimes to help make up your mind if you really can't decide. Okay, another one that I'm working on is my Felix sweater. So I just cast this one on last night. I wanted to make something. I just got a new pair of like high-waisted wide leg jeans that are like a light blue color, and then they have a cute like tie on them. And I wanted to make a sweater to go with that. Now, normally I like to make longer sweaters. I don't really like crop sweaters as much, but because these jeans are high-waisted with that tie on them, I don't like, it doesn't look great with a longer sweater over it. So I wanted to make something to go with those jeans. And so I decided to make another Felix sweater, which is a pattern by Amy Christoffers. And I wanted to make it more boxy, but cropped so that I can show off the high-waisted jeans. So I decided to knit mine using Drops Air. And I bought this one here, which is the color Pearl Gray. And I wanted it to be a very floofy, sort of soft looking, light gray sweater. So yeah, I cast that one on last night. I am making the size 3, which is for, it has a finished bust size of 48 inches. And so with my 38-inch bust, that'll give me 10 inches of positive ease, which I think will be good for the shape that I want. I don't want it to be clingy at all. I want it to have a boxy look to it. And this one is knit on US 10 or 6mm needles. So it's a really, really quick knit. I have these very, very old needles that whatever the finish is coming off of it. And I don't even know what brand they are, but it's my only metal needles in the size US 10. I have a few that are wooden needles, and I really, really don't like knitting with the drops air on wooden needles because the needles are already sticky, and then the drops air being so fuzzy and everything, it just is not fun. It gets stuck on the needles all the time. So I'm using these really old ones, whatever, they work. And it knits up super, super fast, which is what I really like. So what you do is you just cast on for your neckline. She says you can cast on with a tubular cast on, or is it Italian cast on? And start it that way if you like, which I did make my previous Felix like that, and I did do that cast on. I don't really think that it made that much of a difference, to be honest, especially in this like very fluffy yarn. So I just did a long tail cast on, and I think it looks fine. And then you do some rows of 1x1 ribbing, and then you do some short rows, which you're doing wrap and turn short rows in this pattern. And you only do a few of those. So that's great because it's such a big open gauge. You don't need to do a ton of those. So that would be the back with my short rows. And then you begin, well, while you're doing your short rows, you're also doing this lace increase for the raglan sleeves there as well. And then once you're done the short rows, you just continue on doing the raglan increases, which are just like yarn overs. So it gives this really pretty lace pattern that goes down the sleeves on each side. And so every single size in this pattern starts off the same way. You cast on the same amount of stitches, everything is the same, and then the only thing that makes it a bigger size is how many of these like lace repeats you do for the raglan stitches. So it's kind of cool because you can try it on as you go, and if it's not where you want it, just do another repeat of the lace. So we will see. I'm going to, once I finish what is recommended for my size, I'll try it on. I'll see if I want to do another one to give it even more of a boxy shape. But that's, yeah, really, really easy to do. And yeah, I'm having fun with this. I wanted something that is very easy to knit on. Like once I'm done the raglans and I join for the body and separate for the sleeves, it's all going to be stockinette stitch and knit up super quickly. So yeah, I'm really excited to see progress on this one because, I'll have those. I have the Moby, which is knitting up fast, but I have to concentrate a little bit more with that one. And then the Corvid sweater is going to take me a long time just, because it's such a long sweater. So this will be something that's going to give me a little serotonin boost by having this one finished sooner. And that is it for all my works in progress. I did pick up some yarn for another Bisbis beret. So I decided to go with the recommended yarn, one of the recommended yarns, which is Retrosario Vovo. And this is the color A568, which is a very dusty aqua sort of color, more blue in it than green, and very dusty. And I thought that this was a really pretty color. I love aquas and blue-green colors. So I thought that that was so pretty. And I thought it would make a really unique looking beret because you don't normally see this color of a beret in the stores. And then it is a little bit more saturated than what I wanted. So I'm going to do the trick of holding a lighter colored mohair together with it. To dull down that blue just a little bit more to give it more of a dusty, soft summer sort of color. So this one is Knitting for Olive in the color Soft Blue. So I thought that that will look really pretty. I really like the idea of a beret that's got mohair in it to make it like sort of floofy and cute. So yeah, I'm excited to cast this one on hopefully tonight, I think. And I will be doing that one as per the pattern, not adding any modifications, and we'll see how that turns out with this yarn. I think my other Bisbis in the Berroco sock yarn, I think maybe the problem was it was just this sock yarn was maybe a bit too thick, so it just gave it like it just made it of a bigger gauge, and I didn't gauge swatch for this, to be honest with you guys. So yeah, that's my lesson learned. Okay, I think that's all of the knitting content that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So yeah, I just wanted to, I also wanted to announce the winner of my 2025 sock roundup video. So I will link that below if you haven't seen that yet. But I just had a question on there. Which one of those sock patterns was your favorite, or do you have a go-to sock pattern that you always knit? Just to comment that down below, and then you would automatically be entered to win the favorite sock pattern of your choice. So I will put up on the screen the winner. I am using a random comment picker to come up with the winner of this pattern. So this is the winner. Please contact me either. I've got my email address in YouTube. I also have Ravelry, which is linked, and my Instagram. So you can contact me any of those ways that suits you best. Let me know which sock pattern is your favorite. It doesn't have to be one from my roundup. It can be your favorite sock pattern that you've been wanting to knit. And I will talk with you about how to get you that pattern. So thank you everybody who commented on that video. I had tons of comments on that, and I've added so many more sock patterns to my favorites. So thank you guys so much for that. Yeah, and so now I want to talk about a book that I just finished. I don't have the book because I read it. I borrowed it from the library and I read it on my e-reader. So I'll put a picture up of it, and it's called None of This Is True. And this is a book by Lisa Jewell. And it's a really fast-paced book. It's one of those books that the chapters are all shorter, so you just sort of fly through that book. It kept my interest. It's about a podcaster, and she meets this woman, and the woman knows that about her podcast. What happens? This happens at the very beginning of the book, so it's not a spoiler or anything. But they meet each other in a restaurant, and it turns out that it's both of their birthdays on the same day. They find out they were born in the same hospital, and in the same town and all of that. So they call each other birthday twins. And so the one woman, she finds out that this woman has a podcast and everything, and she decides, like, I want her to do a podcast about me. And so she meets her and everything, and they talk about it, and she says, I want you to do a podcast about me. And so they decide they're going to do this one called Birthday Twins or something, like, hi, I'm your birthday twin. And but the woman that wants the podcast made about her, she says that she is wants the podcast made because she's going to be changing her life, and she wants to do something to change her life or something. And she has, had a lot of things happen in her life that she wants to talk about. So they end up starting on this podcast, and it just turns into how they get involved in each other's lives. And it's a crime sort of book thriller. It's a thriller. So bad things happen. So yeah, I thought it really kept my interest the entire way through. I flew through that book. So yeah, I recommend that one if you haven't read that one already. And now for TV shows, I have been watching the show The Gilded Age. If you haven't watched that, and if you were a fan of Downton Abbey, I suggest that you check out that show because it's really good. The costumes in it are really good. The acting is great. The storyline is great. And it has that same sort of upstairs, downstairs sort of thing that was going on in Downton Abbey. So you have the rich people upstairs, and then you have their cooks and their servants and all of that downstairs. And so, yeah, I think that it's really good. I just finished the season finale of season 3. I wish that there were a lot more episodes of it because I really love it. So you should check it out if you haven't already. Another one that I've just recently been watching is called Sherlock and Daughter. So it's another period piece drama about, Sherlock Holmes and then his daughter. So, um, you know, I don't think he has a daughter in any of the movies or books or any of that. But this is sort of a thing where, like, this young woman, her mother gets murdered. This happens right at the beginning. And her mother had told her before this, if anything happens to me, go find your father. Your father is Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah, her mother is murdered. So she goes and she travels and she finds Sherlock Holmes. She says, I am your daughter. You didn't know about me. My mother's been murdered. I want you to help me, figure out who murdered her. And Sherlock Holmes is like, yeah, right. Like, I don't have a daughter, and people have tried to do this to me, saying they're a long lost relative or whatever. This has happened before. You have no proof and whatever. So, but he decides that she's very smart and she's, you know, he wants to be able to teach her his, detective skills, and she wants to learn them too. So he's kind of hired her on to help solve this case that he's working on. Um, Actually, I think she gets involved in the case and then she tells him about it. Possibly, I can't remember. But anyway, he helps, like, he's helping her and they're working together and he's teaching her all he knows about being a detective. And I think it's a really cute show, actually. So I'm enjoying that one. And then my husband and I just recently went to see a movie. We don't normally go and see movies, like adult movies, in the theater very often. We go with my son to see some movies, which we just saw Jurassic Park, the newer one, which was really, really good. We really enjoyed that one. So we took my son and his friends for his birthday party. And we saw that one. That was great. I loved it. And then my husband and I on last week went to see the movie Weapons. So this is a horror movie. So if you don't like horror, I do not recommend this book or this movie, but I do like horror. And I've kind of got my husband into watching movies. And normally I like scary stuff that's more about like ghosts and stuff like that, spooky things, rather than I don't like slasher movies or anything that's too gory or whatever. But this one is a little bit of both, actually. So just be warned, it is pretty bloody parts and stuff. And um, it's a weird movie. But I really, really liked it. It really kept my interest through the whole thing. So what it is it starts off right at the beginning with one of like a kid talking about how there something happened in their town and nobody knows what happened, and just one day in their school, their teacher comes into the classroom, into her third grade classroom, and none of the kids are there except for one little boy. And so none of the kids showed up for school, and then they start like finding out that at 2:15 in the morning, all of the kids from her grade 3 class got up and walked out of their houses, and they can see like video of them walking out on the ring cameras and stuff like that, and they just walked off into the night and didn't come back. And so all of the people in the town are like, what is going on? They're trying to investigate. They've got the FBI looking into it and everything, and they're all really mad at this teacher because, why did all of her only her students leave in the middle of the night? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so yeah, it's really interesting because it shows like I think it's like 4 or 5 main characters from the movie. It goes back and shows their day and what happened um, that day to them, and then it adds a little bit of information every time. Every different person's storyline, and gives a little bit more information. So, and then how they're all joined together in the end. And I thought it was really good. I don't know. It's kind of like one of these movies where my husband and I look at each other at the end and we're like, who wrote this movie? Who like decided that this absolutely had to be made? I don't know. But I do enjoy stuff like that, like things that are sort of weird and creepy and stuff. So yeah, I recommend that movie if you're into stuff like that. If you're not, then steer clear because it is very it is very weird, but yeah, I liked it. And I guess, yeah, that's all I really wanted to say about those things I've been watching and reading. I wanted to give a quick little life update. So a little while ago, I had said that I had started working again, which I hadn't been working for many, many years. And I started working again for a part-time job. And it was supposed to be about 15 hours a week part-time. And like a lot of part-time jobs, in my experience anyway, they start off with less hours, but they always start asking you to do more and more hours. And it was ending up being a lot more hours than what I wanted to be doing originally. I just really just wanted something to, get out of the house a couple days a week and do something a little bit different. And so, yeah, it started becoming more and more hours. And at the same time, I've been having some trouble with my feet being numb. And this started around the same time that I had started working because I was standing on my feet. I was also getting back into running again. And so I don't know if those two things, I'm not really sure. And I'm still not sure. But I have decided not to continue working. So I actually quit the job. So I'm not out working anymore, even part-time. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my feet because they're still very numb. It's my toes that are numb, and I've been to my doctor. And I also should mention that I do have MS as well, so multiple sclerosis, which I don't talk about because I am, don't have any symptoms at all. I've been in remission. I was diagnosed when I turned 29 and I'm 47 now. So that's been 18 years. And I only had a rough go of it for the first year and a half. And then I've been in remission, luckily, for the rest of the time. So it's possible that it could be to do with that, or it could be to do with having flat feet and stuff. So I'm still working on that. I have had MRIs done, I've had blood work done, I've had all of that, and I'm going for a nerve conduction test as well in a couple months to rule some things out. But it's tricky when you have MS because they, I have really great doctors. I have a really, really great neurologist. And so she always says, we don't want to immediately go and say that that's what it is. We want to rule out everything. So I have to get all of the tests done and rule everything out, which is great. I've had them done in a very timely manner, which I've been very lucky to be able to get that done. But yeah, we still don't know after all of that. She sort of is well, I think it might be, past scarring that you have on your spine and it never bothered you before, but now it's starting to act up. It could be, but there is no real answer yet for it. Just trying to rule out everything else. So it was hard to be standing on my feet all day with them being numb, and I'd come home and then they'd be in pain and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. And that is everything that I wanted to share with you guys today. So if you've made it till the end, I really appreciate it. I think that this is going to be an extra long video because I haven't been on here sharing my projects for a while. I've done a bunch of roundup videos, but I haven't talked about what's been going on. So I had a lot to share with you guys. So if you stick with me until the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any future content. So yeah, thank you guys very much for being here. And until next time, happy crafting, everyone. Bye.